Yeah. Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Excellent.
By the way, we're starting soon.
Yes, we are. We're starting right now. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for joining us on Check-In. I'm Sara Orleski. He's Jamie Thomas as we get you set for this afternoon's, or I guess early evening. It's not really this afternoon. It's a 5 p.m. start. This evening's game between the Winnipeg Jets and Columbus Blue Jackets. The Jets played last night or yesterday afternoon in Chicago. Came out of that game with a win, have returned home now. So second game on back-to-back days. And this kicks off 4 games here at home. It has been a long time since we've been able to say that the Winnipeg Jets have played multiple games in a row at Canada Life Center.
Yeah, nice to see it. Nino Niederreiter brought it up last night just because they've been in and out and on the road. And the schedule's been so hectic. So he feels it's a nice time to come back home and 4 games in a row here. All so Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, it's all packed together. Some interesting opponents starting today with the Columbus Blue Jackets, who have been not having problems scoring goals this year. That's something Columbus has struggled over the years, but they are pretty deadly offensively, and not expecting an easy game whatsoever from the Columbus Blue Jackets here today.
No, they had the day off yesterday. The Jets, obviously, as we said, playing. There's so many people already in the chat. We love to be able to see it. You mentioned the homestand. So 4 games. It's today against Columbus. Then Boston comes to town. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're currently sitting 3rd in the Atlantic. Then Vegas, 7-2-1 in their last 2 games or 10 games, first in the Pacific, and then Montreal coming to town with Patrick Laine, who's scored in 2 of the 3 games he's played so far. So for many Jets fans that still remain Patrick Laine fans, I know that anyone that dealt with him in the media certainly has a soft spot for him and everything that he's dealt with. So looking forward to seeing him in the lineup here at Canada Life Center on Saturday. But lots to get to before then.
Before that, let's kick things off on the question of the day. Before we get to that, though, our guest today, it's a good one.
It is. It's
Craig
a great
Button
one.
He's going to be in the building with you during the intermissions and the pregame show as well, right? So he'll be in a little bit later in the show. And after that, Dan Robertson, TSN play-by-play extraordinaire, will talk to us about the challenges of doing games back-to-back as a broadcaster.
Well, and I'm looking forward to asking him about that because we always discuss for the players and we know some of the challenges that exist. But if you are trying to prepare for 2 games on consecutive days, it poses some challenges, obviously, for broadcasters as well. So always love a little bit of insight when it comes to that.
Especially if we don't do play-by-play, which I don't want to speak.
Well, you've done play-by-play before.
Maybe once.
Yeah, I have not.
That's challenging.
Absolutely.
Question of the day.
Yes.
4-game homestand. So what would you like to see during the 4-game homestand? I know a lot of you will say 4 wins, which is fine. We'll accept that type of answer. But if there's any others,
only because it's a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
We will let you get away.
And it's back-to-back. See, as broadcasters or entertainers is whatever you want to call us, coming up with the question of the day becomes a little bit of a albatross around the old neck sometimes. So use that in a sentence if you want to. I don't even know where I came up with that one. Anyways.
Always appreciate when you join us in the conversation. You can catch us on X, Facebook, and YouTube on the Winnipeg Jets platforms each and every Winnipeg Jets game day at 12:30 Central. Mentioned yesterday with the Jets being able to grab the win. They are now 20-8 on the season, the first team to be able to get to 20 wins. So great job by them there. They were able to limit the opportunities for Chicago, certainly yesterday.
After the first period.
Combined 6 shots over the final 40 minutes. Connor Hellebuyck stopping 12 of 14 shots. What is it that stood out to you about that game in Chicago?
Just the what you're just talking about. Yes, it's great. The top line is working. Yes, you get another game time goal off the stick of Gabe Velarde after Chicago would take a 1-0 lead. But the thing I saw the most is just giving Chicago nothing.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, they had 0 high danger scoring opportunities over the final 2 periods. That says something right there, especially, you're playing your second game in 3 days. You got another one on Sunday coming up, but just the way that they eliminated Chicago. Connor Bedard, I saw him wind up maybe once or twice, but other than that, he was pretty invisible. So that says a lot about how well the Jets were defending yesterday, and like to see that. And B. Henderson, I would like to see Brad Lambert score as well, because
I wonder what his goal song is.
that's what they're asking right here. B. Henderson is asking that very question. So we're going to find out hopefully today or during the homestand for that matter,
Absolutely.
unless Nikolai Ehlers returns at some point. But Brad Lambert is not going to get a better chance to score his first NHL goal than what he had yesterday afternoon. Great pass for Vladislav Nemestikov, and you just see it go wide right, and you feel so bad for the guy. But he played. He looked a lot more comfortable yesterday than he did in Buffalo, but that's just, and both Nino Niederreiter and Mark Scheifele pointed that out yesterday afternoon after the game, that he's starting to look a little more comfortable, and that's just natural as he gets more and more of his legs underneath him here in the NHL.
Well, here's some quotes from after the game yesterday that I thought really summed it up on a variety of different levels. From Scott Arniel, they got back to playing how they needed to play, a lot more zone time. For going into the third period, tied at 2. We weren't stretching. We weren't straining to try to score a goal. We let things come to us, which I think is key when this team is being able to get back to the style of game that we've seen them have success with so far this season. Nino Niederreiter saying, I think that's the first time in a while where I feel like we outworked the team.
Yeah.
So great to see, because look, I know that people are concerned obviously with the 4-game set of losses that they had, but you aren't going to win every game. And so it's about stemming that tide as quickly as possible, getting back to the style of game. This is a lot of games in a short period of time for them against some high-level opponents. They were able to find their game. Now it's about continuing to build on it and keep it going with consistency.
And I think a lot of that goes through how well the third line played, which they always do anyways.
Yeah.
But more to what the top line was doing. And it's much different for good reason when Mark Scheifele is playing up the middle.
Course.
And that you could see the effect of that, because Kyle Connor, Gabe Velarde, or just get on the bus when Mark Scheifele is driving things. And we saw that the last 2 games in Buffalo and Chicago.
Hayden Fleury points in 4 of the last 5 games. So great for him. He's averaging almost 16 and a half minutes. So he's been doing a good job filling in on that second pairing, whether it be with Pionk or DeMello for it in place of Dylan Sandberg. His career high in assists, 10 back in 2019, 2020 with Carolina. Okay. So he's already at 5 for the season. So we'll see.
Love to see that.
Yeah, love to be able to see if we see some more players get some career highs.
Nino Niederreiter scored his 10th goal yesterday. So the Jets have 4 double-digit goal scorers so far this year. They're second in the NHL behind the Tampa Bay Lightning in that department. So they went through their little rut there for a bit, having a hard time scoring goals, and good to see everybody producing again the way they have, and for them to get 4 goals yesterday, and for Nino Niederreiter to get 10, on pace for 30. It's amazing that he's hit 20 goals or more 9 times in his NHL career already. So it's amazing. The amazing amount of consistency that comes from Nino Niederreiter.
Absolutely. So today's game against Columbus. Columbus had the day off yesterday. This is the end of a 5-game road trip for them. They've lost their last 3 games in regulation, including a loss in Vancouver. They came into town early. And so yesterday it was a little bit of a team bonding for Columbus.
You're queuing me up here.
I am queuing you up.
I'm feeling your vibe.
My understanding is that they were not able to stay in Vancouver after the game because Taylor Swift
taking up all the
is
hotel rooms,
performing in Vancouver. And so they came to Winnipeg early, arrived very early in the morning or mid when it was still dark out.
Yeah.
But then took to a different sheet of ice yesterday, some team bonding, as we've seen sometimes in the past. Teams come in and will hit up a curling rink. So,
Does this happen quite often? I guess.
Well, I don't know if I'd say often.
Yeah.
I have seen other teams.
Before,
yes,
right.
Other teams that have come in and that have had a day off in Winnipeg that have.
Curling is hard.
It is.
Yeah.
So we'll have to ask Craig Button about that as well, because I think that Craig curls.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. I can't curl.
The guy has so many talents, so it would not surprise me.
It would not surprise me, but
he has great suits as well. So
Columbus did skate this morning. They had a morning skate. Ivan Provorov, who did not finish the game in Vancouver, is a game time decision for today. And when it comes to netminders, we are looking at, we believe, Eric versus Elvis.
Elvis Merzlikins has goalied the Jets many a time too as well. So it's one thing with Columbus over the years. The thing that they've been consistent with is they've managed to find great goaltending year over year. And that's something they've never really had. You think of all the organizations out there that just wish they could find the right goaltender. That doesn't seem to be a problem for the Columbus Blue Jackets over the years.
And this would be the same goaltending matchup that we saw in the first meeting of the season, which was back the beginning of November, a 6-2 win in Columbus. That was a game in which Nikolai Ehlers had a hat trick. So looking for it to be Comrie versus Elvis Merzlikins this afternoon for it. As for the Jets, because there is no morning skate today, don't anticipate there being any changes to the lineup, but as always, we'll be keeping an eye out during warm-up to see whether or not anything changes, maybe on that third pairing, but I would expect things to be remaining the same.
Before we get to Craig Button, who's so kind to join us, like this one. Oh, wait. WJ2000,
Yeah.
the Taylor Swift girl can cause us trouble. She sure does. Makes it very challenging sometimes in this world, as you know, going to concerts and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm pretty sure Craig Button's attended a Taylor Swift concert in his entire lifetime. Let's get to the bottom of this as the analyst from TSN joins us now. And Craig, have you been to a Taylor Swift concert in your lifetime?
I have not. My daughters have, and I've made sure that they could get there. I really wanted to get to a show on this Eras tour. I just couldn't do it. I'm going to regret it. I know it.
Don't worry, Craig. Today, while you're sitting beside me, I'll regale you with stories about it. Maybe reenact it a little bit.
Oh, she just talks about it over and over and over again.
I'll pull the moves out. Don't you worry.
I'll bring a friendship bracelet for you, Sarah.
Perfect, Craig. You look at I really feel as if for you, it's any time that hockey is being played, it is a busy time of year for you because you're involved in so many different elements and different levels of it. But when you look at December between NHL, you've got World Juniors, keeping an eye on prospects. Is this one of the busiest times of year for you?
It is, but it also goes really fast. And there's an exciting part of it too. I mean, the World Junior Tournament, the level of intensity, the high quality of player and team that show up at the U20 tournament is always exciting. You're now seeing NHL teams trying to figure out exactly, okay, who we are, and teams are finding that out, but now like building on it and then trying to find ways to be better on it. And in some cases, as we saw with Chicago on Saturday, a new coach, teams trying to find ways to be better and looking at different solutions. So the beginning of the season, first 20 or so games, I find that it's more of a, okay, here's what we've done in the summer, and then reality hits you. So I think there's a real excitement. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets have 20 wins. They're the first team in the NHL to get 20 wins. And despite the fact that, they went through a rough patch there where they were 3-7 in 10 games, I don't think there's anybody on the planet that's a Winnipeg Jets fan wouldn't take 20-8 after 28 games of the NHL season.
I think they'd be crazy to not want that, Craig. A big part of those 20 wins is the Jets' third line. I know we talk about them a lot, and I know you must talk about them a lot, but how much do you enjoy watching them go to work anytime you take a Jets game in?
Yeah, we hear Kevin Sawyer regularly on the broadcast talk about, play to your identity, play to who you are. Well, number one, those players play to who they are. Number two, when you watch the Winnipeg Jets play, they play hard. And when they're successful, like any team, you're going to play hard. And I think that Adam Lowry as the captain and that line as a trio really set a tone for the Winnipeg Jets. We watch games all around the NHL, and to watch players that can really, dive into the hard parts of the game and then show that you can have success by doing it. I think that trio is fantastic. I didn't know this, but Rick Bowness is the one that put this line together. And here we are in the holiday season. And the gift that Rick Bowness gave to the Winnipeg Jets is a gift that continues to give and will continue to give back. They're tremendous. I'll be straightforward with you, Jamie. I could talk about that line all day long.
Hey, one of the more challenging things in life, especially in the National Hockey League, is finding a number one goaltender. But once you find one of those, how tough is it to have the right backup goaltender that understands a role when you play behind somebody like Connor Hellebuck, where you're not going to get 25 to 30 games a year?
It's incredibly important because as good as the number one goaltender, in this case, Connor Hellebuck, is, they need rest. They need the ability to not only get a physical rest, but also a mental rest. A lot of times with goaltenders, and they'll tell you that the mental fatigue plays a big part in it. And they want to be in the net, but they also know that they need somebody that they, not only as an individual goaltender in a tandem, but also the team knows that they can have somebody that can go in there and help the team win a game. It can't be just, oh, we have a backup. Okay, whatever happens today, you know, we win. Oh, too bad. It was our backup. Daryl Sutter taught me this. He says the backup goaltender's job is to go in there and help the team win. And I think the Winnipeg Jets have done an excellent job of finding that goaltender that fits with Connor Hellebuck and also helps the team win. Kevin Cheveldayoff has done a terrific job in that, and I think the evidence is overwhelming in that regard.
So you worked the broadcast yesterday too, Craig, but what are you looking to see from this Jets team here today against Columbus?
Columbus played a really strong game against Vancouver on Friday night. They took it to the Vancouver Canucks. The first period, they were phenomenal. Elvis Merzlikins made a blunder that probably would led the Vancouver Canucks back into the game. The Columbus Blue Jackets have played hard. They've played well. They've had a struggle winning games on the road. Obviously, they're sitting in Winnipeg waiting for the Jets to return from Chicago. These are not easy games to play in if you're the Winnipeg Jets. So the first thing I think you have to do is get yourself into a mindset that says it's going to be hard. And let's get after it. Let's get invested in the game. I think the good thing for the Winnipeg Jets is the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to get Winnipeg Jets into a mindset early of, we're coming at you hard. We're going to compete. We're not going to make it easy on you. And now it's up to the Winnipeg Jets to come out and say, okay, we're in it. And we're not in here to just play a game on a Sunday afternoon. We're here to win a game on Sunday afternoon.
One last one before you let you go, Craig. You talked about, Sarah asked about how busy you are. Now there's an extra thing thrown in your plate because there's actual international hockey within the National Hockey League now. So how excited are you about the Four Nations face-off coming up next February?
I think all of us are excited, Jamie, because it's been 2016 when we last had the opportunity to watch countries form a team at this level. The players are excited. It's a long time. And, you know, the international calendar took a real hit with the pandemic, certainly with respect to where Russia found themselves invading Ukraine. So yeah. This is what I call a re-entry into the international schedule, and I think it's really good. And I think we need to look at it not as who's not there, but this is the first step into getting that international schedule back on track. Everybody's excited about it, and I think it will be exciting.
Craig, appreciate your time. I don't want to wear you out because you got to sit beside her and listen to the Taylor Swift story. So you need your energy. The dancing's already started. So appreciate that. Bring your friendship bracelet, bring pen. We'll figure it out. But thanks so much for taking the time with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Craig. We'll see you shortly. He mentioned, just quickly before we get to Dan Robertson, he mentioned the struggles that Columbus has had on the road. 3-9-2 is their record so far. Away from Columbus, the Jets, of course, 9-2 at home.
Okay, so when we bring in guests, I like to have something witty to bring them in with. So Dan Robertson texted me on Friday.
Dan's already concerned.
Yeah, texted me on Friday.
Yep.
Hey, I'm out and about in Chicago. What kind of M&Ms do you like? Because now that I don't travel anymore, I don't get to the M&M stores across America. So I say dark raspberry is nice. He gives me a thumbs up or something like that. I can't remember it. And I expect things. I expect the dark raspberry M&Ms to be here. You don't like where this is going. I can tell by the look on your face.
Okay. No.
Does Dan have the M&Ms? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, survey says. And you're wearing a Padres hat on top of that. Like, what is going on here?
That's just to annoy you, just to stick it to you a little further. No, I promise, Jamie, I'll when we go back on the road again, I guess it's in California in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll get you some Reese's Pieces, if nothing else.
Oh, so Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. E.T.
sold those like crazy when we were kids.
That's right.
I have never bought into Reese's Pieces.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're tasty.
What about you? Dan?
They're not my favorite. Give me one of the peanut butter cups and I'm okay. But
so if you give me Reese's Pieces, I'll know how you feel about me that day, which means you don't like me that day. So, but
I will atone for my sin. I will atone for my sin.
Can tell he's very appreciative of the time and effort that you would put into getting him anything.
Well, I want the map of how far you had to walk for the Reese's Pieces, not just across the CVS or something like that.
Okay, fair enough.
Some people saying no M&Ms is a tragedy.
See, some people. Thank you. I've actually figured out how to work the mute button, so there's a lot of thing going on in the chat. But anyways, we brought you in to talk hockey, and you're doing back-to-back broadcasts. You just flew in from Chicago yesterday afternoon. What is the challenge of preparing for a game back-to-back with calling them?
Obviously, the challenge of calling the Jets is not much of a challenge. It's great because, just update the numbers from yesterday. And anyway, all about the Jets, but it's trying to find out about Columbus. I wanted to have the chance to watch some of the game that they had with Vancouver. Luckily, and I didn't really have the time. Luckily, we saw Columbus. We were in Columbus on November the 1st, I guess it was. So that's it. And you know what? Dennis Bayak said something once that made a lot of sense. And I didn't forget it. He said a lot of times at the end of long trips, and we're not at the end of a long trip, but it's a busy time and a tiring time for everybody. But he said, when I call the game, I just kind of keep it a little more simple. Gives you, I guess, less opportunity to make mistakes. So I think I'll kind of try to keep it simple this afternoon when the game starts at whatever time it is. I don't even know, 5 o'clock, I suppose.
Well, that could be our first concern, Dan.
Yes.
I'll come knock on your door just to let you know when it's time to come.
I'm going to send you a text in
Mr.
a little
Robertson,
bit.
Mr. Robertson.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
When you look at these last two wins that the Jets have had, obviously disappointing the way that one game at home went against St. Louis, but then they head out on the road. You played Buffalo, Chicago. What did you like about the last two wins?
I like their energy level. I thought it was a lot higher than it was against St. Louis. And it's surprising to me. I mean, I know they're finely tuned athletes and they're all in tremendous shape, but just the grind that they've been on would affect anyone. And they had their skating legs. I think yesterday's game was better than the Buffalo game in that they played more of their game. And Scott Arniel said something in the post game yesterday, which I thought was true. We talked about it during the broadcast that even though they were tied and they were down by one for a while, they stuck to their game, right? And when it was 2-2, they didn't take big chances to try and get that go-ahead goal. They just kept grinding and kind of overwhelming the Blackhawks, and then they got the go-ahead goal. So I like the fact that they've been pretty much mentally sharp during a trying time. And I thought they skated really well yesterday. I'll be interested to see if they can do it today because that's going to be difficult.
We have breaking news. Bailey, the intern, she says her mom will have Christmas baking for the three of us if we'd like. Do we accept these terms? Christmas baking?
Well, I never say no to Christmas baking.
Okay. Thank you, Bailey, the intern. We appreciate that. So if you do have Christmas baking for us, we're not going to say no. That's amazing. That's the gift that keeps on giving right there. Listen, you can only go as far in this league without your top line. The top line is looking a lot better. What have you liked about Scheifele, Connor, Velarde over these last two games?
Just again, I think they've kind of found their stride, and they all started to click at the same time. And maybe it's being driven by Scheifele. I thought that the Buffalo game was his best since the November 19th game when he had the hat trick against the Panthers here, and what was a big game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I haven't talked to Mark about this, but there was disappointment that he didn't make Team Canada. And I thought maybe that could go one way or the other. Maybe after he found out or didn't find out that he made the team, because he did not, will he kind of not sulk, but not be able to find the jump that he normally would have? And I think he's been very good since finding out that news for whatever reason. Maybe that's just a coincidence, but Connor too, he's found that extra gear. And I've really I so much enjoy watching Velarde, and maybe I talk about it too much, but in tight with those hands, and he's jarred a lot of pucks loose. I actually asked Scott Arniel in the pregame interview yesterday what he sees when that line is going well, and he just talked about the fact they're crisscrossing and on their toes and they read each other well. So you know what, every team needs their top line to get going, and we've seen that the last couple of days. And Scheifele scores the winner yesterday. Somehow they lost him. He kind of got lost too, and it was smart, and then Connor just threw it to the net and Scheifele was there. So it's good to see them kind of perk up again.
Just quickly, Dan, since we do know that you have to get ready for the game. You mentioned a little bit about waiting to see what the Jets are going to be like responding in terms of just will they have their skating legs, maybe even early on. What will you be watching for beyond that in this game here today?
I would think mental sharpness, Sarah. And so to me, that's kind of awareness, maybe missing your check or maybe just basic passes going astray. I think you do see that. And I asked Craig actually in an intermission yesterday before the game was actually, when a team is so busy, and I think this is their 10th game in the last 17 days, do you see it more mentally or physically? He said both, but probably mentally more than anything. So those are the things. And after the St. Louis game, Scott Arniel said, there's been some decision making out there that's not like us. It's not what the Jets do. So I think that's what I'll be looking for. And I'll really be interested in the opening 20 minutes just to see how they perform. And maybe they'll want to keep it simple too and get, I hate this cliche, but get the puck in deep and kind of go to work that way. And just off topic for a moment, one other thing I'm looking at is if and when the Jets get a power play, how that's going to go. Because in the last 12 games, the opposition's had a 38.2% power play rate, I think, or over 38% against Columbus. So that could be a storyline here today.
The Jets would like to get back feeling some of that power play groove that they had early on because it hasn't been with them lately.
So speaking of decision making, it was a terrible decision to wear that hat.
I know.
But a great decision to come on the show, and appreciate you as always. We'll see you a little bit later today when I knock on the door with your water at a certain temperature before we get ready for the broadcast.
That's fair. The one cap that I have on my shelf that I didn't grab, it's a vintage Canucks cap. Well, I shouldn't even say that, but I love the logo. But if I wore that, I'm sure there'd be knocks at my door with people with pitchforks and torches and that sort of thing.
It's the season of forgiving, Dan. So
I hope so.
We're going to remind him of that about the M&Ms.
Forgive me for no M&Ms, Jamie. See you guys soon.
See you soon, buddy.
Thanks so much.
Enjoy your afternoon. Dan Robertson joining us from his prison cell.
It's never easy to find a good shot. Yeah, it's difficult.
It's stressful.
It can be.
I remember one time I did it from my daughter's bedroom and her dollhouse is behind me. And you sit there and think you're like, and then another time I did it in our bedroom and I'm like, there's no privacy here. We fully see our bed in the shot. It was like, just so.
Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from.
Oh yeah. During COVID times in particular, I did a lot of stuff from the basement. So I tried to angle and I'd hang artwork that if you came downstairs, it was a corner of the basement that looked nothing like anything else in the basement. Just trying to
kind of like Greg Wyshynski's garage.
Yeah, but his looked good. Mine did not. Mine
elite.
Didn't look like that. We did
elite.
hear about waiting to see how the Jets were going to look against Columbus, especially in that opening 20 minutes. That is typically in terms of goals. The first period is Columbus's most productive for them. They have outscored their opponents, I believe it's 31-20-ish. Yes, 31-20 in the first period. So that's where Columbus is often done. When it does damage, that's often where it's happened.
Well, the Jets played a good game there as well last time. And
Absolutely.
You don't even have the concern. Well, you do have a little bit of concern because it's third game in 4 days, but there's that long road trip concern. Of how they're going to look in the first period, but I just feel they're going to be ready to go in that aspect. So you have something to show everybody.
Well, it's not usually we try to show you deals that are happening in the arena, but we've also shown you recently some options that you might have if holiday gift giving time of year. Want to point out that they have garbage mitts, which is a Winnipeg staple. Where's Nate Schmidt? You need him. I'm hoping someone else walks in with garbage mitts this year. I don't know if you remember that from last year, but they are embossed with the Winnipeg Jets logo on them, available in both colors. So at Jets Gear Stores, something to keep an eye on as the weather gets a little bit colder. Although let me tell you,
my hands are real toasty.
Cannot complain about the weather we have seen the last couple of days.
No, and if anybody's going shopping before the Jets game today, good luck. Snow's coming down pretty good. We're bunkered in here. Usually I go home before the game. That's not going to be the case. So. I got to hang out with you a little bit longer than normal.
No, we are not.
Absolutely going home?
Not. No, but this is a large. This is a large enough arena.
Separate
we can
suites.
find 2 separate
You're
spots.
staying down here. I'm going up to the office. Parrot.
Get out of here.
Okay.
Anyways, so great to see so many of you in the chat. As always, we really appreciate it. Jets Toques. Yes, there are Jets Toques as well. You want a holiday gift guide for us right now? Maybe that's what we'll do one day.
but we have to wear everything and come in. This is the full
Remember
skis
a Friends episode? I don't know if anyone was a Friends episode where Joey wore all of Chandler's clothes. That's what we'll do. We'll just come in head to toe,
and then slowly
multiple
take
layers.
Yeah, and here I have the Jets hoodie,
the shirt, the toque. Lots of options for you available at Jets Gear Store and available online as well. Okay, I think that's it.
That's it. Thank you very much for watching. As always, thank you for your patience. A completely clean show so far before we sign off.
There is still time.
Let me sit down on that one. You get
anyway,
a lesson.
Hope you all have a fantastic Sunday. Remember, it is a 5:00 game available on TSN today. Pregame show gets going at 4:30. As always, you can listen on CJOB and 97.5.
Here comes the
well.
Oscars music. Time to get off the air.
Checking in.